Today we're going to be talking about plagiarism or the ethical use of information. As your assignment relates to what we'll be talking about here today, as you're working on your journal entry in this section of the class or this week of the class, you will be answering questions about ethical use of information. Make sure you explain yourself. You will be asked to decide if the situation meets the requirements for ethical use of information. Make sure to explain your answer well. Don't just say, that's not ethical. That'll get you 50%. Make sure you explain yourself. What is plagiarism? The simple answer is that plagiarizing information is stealing. Stealing is wrong, therefore plagiarism is wrong. This video will provide you with the necessary information to prevent plagiarism. If you use information in the form of a quote, idea, paraphrase, or summary from a source, give credit to that source by placing an in-text or parenthetical citation and add the source to your works cited page. This is ethical use of information. So this is an example. I have my direct quote here. It's introduced. Always introduce a direct quote. Don't just leave it hanging out there by itself and throw it in there. That's not good. Always introduce it to explain what it has to do with your paper and why you're putting it in there. Here is my author's name and a period. In this particular case, this was an article from a database and it did not have page numbers, so I cannot put my page number. Summarizing is when you use different words than the source but capture the meaning of the source in a much shorter format. Paraphrasing is similar to summarizing, but it's much longer and more detailed. A paraphrase includes all the information from the article, but in your own words. Plagiarism includes using another person's work and submitting it as your own. An example would be if you borrowed a friend's paper from a previous semester and edited it. When you submit that assignment as your own work, it's stealing. And this is covered in the Student Code of Conduct. No matter what school you go to, make sure you get a copy of that Student Code of Conduct. It's important. Read it. Here's an example of incorrect and correct way to do credit. So here is my quote. I've got it in quotation marks, so that's a check mark. I've got my author's name, the page number, it's in the parentheses, and it has a period. And the period is after the in-text credit or parenthetical credit. I have, in addition to that, created a works cited page entry under here. I will say that this part of it right here is not in correct format. It should be double spaced, and the second and third lines should be tabbed over, but I am limited on space, so I didn't have enough room to do that and still keep it all on the page. This is incorrect. Here is similar information to this, but there's no credit. Therefore, it is plagiarism and it is not accurate. When are you required to cite your sources? When you paraphrase, summarize information from a book, article, or any other source that did not originate from you. This includes verbal, audio, and visual sources. If you highlight something and copy it from an online source, that's a direct quote. Make sure to use quotation marks, do in-text credit, and then add it to your works cited page. If you use an exact quote from any source, make sure to use quotation marks, then give an in-text citation and include on your works cited page. If you use information from an interview, lecture, somebody tells you something, if you have charts, diagrams, or photos, give in-text credit and create an entry on your works cited page for each individual item. When don't you need to cite a source? If you did an experiment and you're reporting the results, if you did original research and are reporting the results, then you don't have to give credit. If you're reporting common knowledge, some examples would be famous heroes or holidays. If I state that Abraham Lincoln is the 16th President of the United States of America, I don't have to give a in-text credit for that because that's common knowledge. Generally accepted facts, an example of this is water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. We know that to be true. We don't have to give a cite for it. If you are stating your opinion, you don't have to cite it. What I would say is in this particular case, make sure that everybody knows that it is your opinion. In review, ethical use of information is when you give credit to the source by acknowledging where the information was obtained. The way to give credit is by using in-text citations or parenthetical and creating a works cited entry. Plagiarism is when you do not give credit to the source or acknowledge where your information was obtained. This is stealing information. Please be aware of ethical use of information and make sure that you make good decisions. You don't want to actually fail a class because of plagiarism, and it can happen. Again, I would caution you to get a copy of your student code of conduct wherever you decide to go to college.